I'm not going to say a single word about the Tennessee Titans record against the Indianapolis Colts because I was a punter, and there's no reason for me to talk about that. With that being said, we did not punt much against the Tennessee Titans, so you probably have no clue who I am to begin.
Look, I'm unstoppable. Forget your defense, nothing but an obstacle. Run it back, switch it up, call it audible. Serving up them Hail Marys till the game over with the showstopper. So hot, you gotta blow on it. I said I'll huff and I'll puff, then I'll pass to my left while I'm looking to my right. Hit him right in the chest. It be looking like magic. Better give me the throne. I ain't talking about Patrick, but I rep my home. I'm never at the end of my zone. I'm bad to the bone. Eating up these pig skins like they chicharrones, and you a douche cabron. Mira, mira at the mirror on the wall. I'm the greatest of them all. They gon' put me in the hall. Your name is only written in a bathroom stall. Quit your stalling and make a play. My drive too long, pop the clutch, I don't pump the brakes. I know what it takes to gain the muscle, get rugged. These butterfingers be fumbling, squash the scrimmage and rub it in Robitussin. How I give them concussion, they seeing double, they rushing and pass the shovel, the dirt and rubble, I bury them under it. Stay in your huddle and get 10 yards back, never turn your back. I'ma pull your flag, I go full contact, out punch, out kick like a shotgun.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Make sure that you're getting tuned in. Make sure that you're commenting where you're watching from, because we got a really special episode in store. And you know what? I don't want to delay. I want us to go ahead and get started. So once again, this is the Horseshoe Mob podcast where we're bringing you everything Colts. Like I said, we'll sprinkle in a little bit of basketball. Might be talking a little bit more basketball because of who we got today. But you know what? With that being said, only because, like I said, it's just like we pride ourselves on actually making sure that we have only the greatest guests on here. And today is probably going to be the greatest episode that we've had thus far. We have with us from The Athletic, Colts writer, basketball expert, savant extraordinaire, whatever you want to call him, James Boyd. Everybody, welcome, James. Welcome.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Excited when you all reached out. The message was something like, it's a long shot, and it's like, nah, we shoot everything around here. So appreciate you, reaching out.
I like it. I already like where this is going. And like I said, that's James. You know the other three of us. Like I said, we're not going to get to, but we'll just introduce. We have with us Josh Senior. Everybody.
Yeah. What's good, everybody? Just like you said, everything's a long shot. Ask Tyrese. He shoot everything.
All right. And then we have Austin Cook. Everybody.
Yeah. What's up? I'm Austin.
All right, and I'm Chris Jackson, as you know. So, like I said, so without further ado, let's just get right into it. So, James, so as far as what you've been able to do, just give us a quick introduction to you, and then we're going to start picking your brain from there.
Yeah, so I am 5 years out of college now. Okay. Started off doing high school sports in Northwest Indiana. And that kind of got my name, I guess, a little bit out there in the state of Indiana. And I kind of worked my way further down into the state as the years have gone by. Ended up getting a promotion to go back to my alma mater, University of Illinois, to cover them for 6 months. Then went to the Pacers, beat for Indy Star, covered the NBA. The Pacers for one season for 9 months, and then came over to the Athletic to cover the Colts. And I've been here since last August, so coming up on a year here. Pretty soon. So, it's been a whirlwind, crazy ride, fun ride. I thought I made it when I was covering high school sports. So anything after that, it's a privilege to do what I do. And I've treated it the same as far as my approach to it, the storytelling aspect of it, the human nature of it since I started. So it's just, get bigger names and stuff like that. But the essence of what you do doesn't change at all. So excited for what's to come. And obviously, it's pretty cool to cover what will likely be the most intriguing rookie, in this class.
Yeah. I mean, you sure did. You came into this role in like a very, very special time because I mean, this is something that you haven't seen in Indianapolis. So do you feel like there's equal amounts of pressure as there is opportunity with it, being that this is the first time that we've seen the Colts go with, a quarterback prospect like Anthony Richardson with a rookie head coach?
Yeah, I think it's a considerable amount of pressure on both guys, on the franchise, because when you draft someone that high, it says you're betting on him. You're in his hands, so to speak. And so there's going to be a lot of angst that comes with that, expectations. And then, as I've said on multiple podcasts, on our own podcast, on the radio, the Colts are a different franchise. As you all know, they're not the Bears or the Ravens or the Steelers where their identity is like the defense. The identity of the Colts, when they've been good since moving to Indy, has been the quarterback position. So Anthony Richardson is coming in. He's not filling in for someone who wasn't good or wasn't great. Filling in or trying to, carry the torch after Andrew Luck, who was on a Hall of Fame trajectory until he retired. Obviously Peyton Manning, who's arguably the greatest quarterback ever. And so these are the things that he has to kind of come in under. And so there's going to be pressure there. But so far, he seems like he embraces it now.
Yeah.
Everything's easy to embrace now because there isn't a lot of adversity. But I'm curious to see how it goes when the league humbles him, because it's going to happen at some point, whether he starts week 1, week 5, week 8, whatever the case may be. Whenever he plays, this league is going to make it hard on him. And that's not to be rude. It's just a fact. I mean, even the best get got sometimes, right? So I'm excited about that. But it definitely is a new vibe around the team, new energy within the franchise, because they have a new face of the franchise.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then in that case, just still kind of sticking with the rookie thing, it's like you're kind of like the rookie rider with the Colts now.
Yeah.
So the thing for you is it's just like, what is your approach to coming into this situation now? Because, we've seen the team, and like I said, I'm not, I think the one thing that I wasn't able to find is whether or not you're like an avid Colts fan, because I know that Romeoville is like right outside of Chicago. So you're a Bears fan, you're a Colts fan. Like, how does that go?
Nah, so I actually grew up as a Bears fan, being from the Chicago area, the suburbs of Chicago. Never claimed Chicago, though, because I didn't grow up there. And it's kind of like a joke that I made my name Romeoville Kid, because everyone where I'm from lies about being from Chicago. And it's like, no, you grew up in the suburbs just like me. The white picket fence and everything like that. Ain't nothing wrong with having a good life. But jokes aside, I had this full circle moment when I got the job to cover the Colts, because, I remember watching that Super Bowl and cheering against the Colts. And then Lovie Smith actually became the coach at Illinois when I was in college. So I had a chance to cover him. And then, last season finale, it was this crazy deja vu moment. It's like the Colts get a better draft pick because Lovie Smith, the coach of the Houston Texans, who was also the coach of the Bears, also the coach of Illinois, who I actually had a chance to talk to, one-on-one before, ends up beating them in the last game of the season. So that was a lot of crazy overlap there. But it has been a crazy transition for me. Being mainly an NBA basketball guy growing up, I've learned a lot about the NFL, still learning as I go. There's pressure with that, of course, but I like pressure, kind of like Anthony Richardson, I guess, where you don't fold under that if you know what you put into it. Like, I work hard. I enjoy it. I think I take the job serious, but not myself. So as long as I, stay humble in that regard, it'll be fun. But I think that it'll be cool to document the beginning of something and be there for every twist and turn of Anthony Richardson's career, assuming I'm here as well, because I think that it's different when you see it and witness it in real time rather than going back and reading about it like I've had to do with Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, and things like that. So I didn't grow up as a Colts fan, but I think one of the weird things about being a reporter is that you lose the fandom kind of quick if you really care about your craft. Now, that's not saying if I switched over to covering the NBA again, I wouldn't have NFL opinions, but I think that it's pretty easy to cut that stuff off when you cover a certain league or a certain team, because you want to be respected. And I think the best thing to do to get respected is to do good work, be critical, but also be respectful at all times. Sometimes we might not see eye to eye with every player, but at the same time, I got to see you every day during the season. So I'm never going to disrespect you, but I am going to hold you accountable if I feel like what you're putting out there is not conducive to winning and things like that. And so I even like when the players throw it back at me, like, hey, that word you used wasn't the correct one, or, you missed the word here, something like that. So if I can dish the criticism, I got to be able to take it too. So it's a two-way street, and I'm looking forward to driving down that street, here in a little bit.
So, and I like I said, I don't want to, step on anybody's toes, because I know Austin or Josh may have anything to say whenever Josh decides that he doesn't want to be a white circle with a white dot in the middle. Oh, there you go. Hey, there we go. There we go. But no, I wanted to segue into basketball a little bit just for a moment, because you were giving Jaylen Brown hell last night.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, he was struggling. I think that he's the player. I got to see him play in person. Obviously, being on the Pacers, be very talented guy. And this is just in all seriousness, it amazes me how talented he is, but how limited he is. Because he made an All-NBA second team, and he can't like dribble consistently going left. And that's not a lie. I mean, the tape shows. I think when you force him to go left and dribble a few times and create off the dribble going left, he struggles a lot more doing that than going right. And so, honestly, I know people are going to talk about breaking up the team or should you pay him the Supermax. I don't think that I would. But the bottom line is if he's back in the Celtics uniform, he has to lock himself in the gym and work all on his handles and all on his left hand, because if you don't do that, I think it caps what the Celtics are able to do going forward. They're all young. Yeah. I mean, people can get mad about where they're at right now, but it's like they didn't even play good, and they were a game away from being in the finals. Like, that's how much talent they have over there. So I don't think you should break it up, but I wouldn't pay him the max, super max, that is. I'm not giving him $290 million if you can't go left. You're not my best player. However, if they can get him, in a max range, and again, if he works on his game and takes some accountability for that, they should be good. But yeah, I was on him because I think that you see Jason Tatum go down with the ankle injury. You got to step up, and it's not even that he missed shots. It's just that the 8 turnovers and the ones where you're just losing the ball because you can't dribble. That's pretty tough. I know Pacers fans have been clamoring for him, and he's going to be in Indianapolis, and it's like I don't see why you think the struggles over there are going to be any better when he's more highlighted if he were to come to Indianapolis. Like, he would really be handed the keys here alongside Tyrese Halliburton and expected to do more than over there. And I'm like, again, if you can't dribble with your offhand, it's going to be tough to do. So we ain't got to dive too much into it, but I mean, I'm a basketball guy, man. I love watching all sports, I feel like. Especially when it's do or die, and that's what it was, yesterday, Game 7, do or die.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Josh.
I said, it definitely was. Watching, like you said, it was painful watching him, and also Tatum. I know he tweaked his ankle right before halftime, but him playing bad the way he played in a elimination game, it was just painful to watch. But since I'm a Laker fan, I love it.
Hey, I'm a LeBron guy. I got a lot of respect for what he did. And I was hoping to see them, get to the finals. But at the same time, I feel like Jokic got something to say. He's on that best player in the world tier right now. I got him up there with Steph and Giannis. You can just take your pick of those three. But, we'll see what the Lakers do and what Bron does. And he's not going to retire. I don't even know why that was a story. That was funny. When I saw the quote, I was like, that's not going to happen. And because he's got $97 million on his deal. He can opt out after the next year, but people are like, he's got enough money. But I don't know about y'all, but rich people never turn down more money.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't.
They're like, he's got enough money. Like, I would like, even when Melo didn't leave the Knicks that one time, he could have came to the Bulls and had a better shot at the ring or something like that. They're like, oh, Melo, all he wants is the money. And it's like, it's easy to turn down $50 million when you ain't being offered it.
Exactly.
In real life, man, I'm gonna take that ball and play on the moon if you mean I'm gonna make $50 million somewhere else. So
I agree.
Not a guarantee. I mean, Karl Malone, he was ring chasing at the end of his career and went to the Lakers. Took less money to go there, and they didn't win it. Lost to the Pistons. So sounds good until you don't win, and then you don't get the money either. So I can go on a rant for sure, but we'll see. I'm excited for the finals. I know people are talking about ratings, but I ain't no TV owner or TV station owner. I don't care about ratings. I'm a locked in because I'm a hoops fan. So
exactly. And we were talking about the fact that this is one of those like super neutral, finals where it's just like, if you're not a Heat or Nuggets fan, which I mean, other than Austin being a Heat fan, I don't know too many Heat fans. So I mean, for us, it's just kind of like I'm just waiting for good games. But however, I wouldn't be mad if Jimmy got a ring.
Right.
Well, Austin, you know this. You've probably been saying this more than me. If Jimmy pulls this off, it's one of the greatest playoff runs ever. I hope that they steal game 1 just to make it interesting. I think that they're extremely overmatched just because Denver's, to me, the better team, got the best player, and they're just big. Like, if they weren't as big as they are, I would feel okay about the matchup, but they just big. I mean, Kyle Lowry, who you gonna guard? Gabe Vincent, who you gonna guard? And so on the other side, they got Aaron Gordon, they got Bruce Brown, they got Murray's not a great defender by any stretch of the imagination, but he's also a bigger guard, though. He's a bigger body. So we'll see. But I'm hoping they steal game one. Miami does, just to make it interesting, put some pressure on people and see if Mike Malone keeps talking that talk. I like guys that talk, though. He's been talking crazy, but I appreciate it. I think that anybody
I'm not a fan of that.
Got to do it. So, yeah.
I'm not a fan of that.
Oh, I'm with all that. Yeah, it stings when your team. But hey, if Bron and them was doing the same thing, you probably love it. So it is what it is, man. Either way, like you said, it's a good story. You got an 8th seed trying to get a ring. Jimmy, if he were to get one, I think that would be, again, one of the greatest runs ever. But then also Denver on the other side trying to get their first championship in franchise history. So there's always, stories. And as a reporter, I'm like, man, I wish I was covering it because I know beyond just the games themselves, there's a lot of good stories there with different guys kind of coming up through the ranks and, making their own journey and making their name for themselves. Even a guy like Bruce Brown, who was in the G League, a few years ago, scrapping and scraping to get to where he is and now being on a, championship contender. So we'll see. Nikola Jokic, could be the Tom Brady of the NBA, so to speak, being the 41st pick and kind of a nobody coming into the NBA, and now he's on trajectory to be one of the greatest players ever. So we'll see.
Right.
We can talk NBA all day, but what y'all got for me, Colts wise?
well, hey, there was one question that I did have for you, and I think this was something that popped out like last week. So they had a graphic. And it was super overmatched, but it's just like, let's just see where everybody's at. So it was the starting five from 2002, 2003, just all stars. I think it was like AI, Kobe, T-Mac, Tim Duncan, and Shaq versus the 2022-2023 roster. But the thing is, it was just all the younger players. So I think it was just like, it's like Luka, Embiid. And then there was a few others, just like basically just like old generation versus like newer generation. And now it's escaping me. I've literally had that on my head all day. I think like Tatum was in that small forward. But
SGA.
SGA was in there. And so when you're talking about like something like that, especially now, do you feel like the guys now are better than they are, or are they more like, I'm going to say, would you say more like skilled than they used to be back in like 02-03?
Yeah, it's hard to say who was better and all of that. I do think there is more skill in the NBA now than ever before, but everything is always relative, right? Like I think there are certain players you can drop in any era, they'd be great in any era. I always make this argument for Steph Curry when I hear people who are a lot older than me say he wouldn't last in like the 80s and the 90s and stuff like that. It's like Muggsy Bogues played 13 years, in the NBA at his size back in those days.
He was 5'5".
He played. He was 5'3", and played that long. Yeah, Spud Webb, 5'7". He played a long time in the league. So you mean to tell me the greatest shooter ever, who's 6'2", would not last in that era? Are you kidding me? So those are the only times I ever feel like having that debate. But I think the skill level is better. I won't say the competition is better because I think that it's all relative to what era you're in. But there is a lot of talent in the NBA right now, and it's all over. It's pretty spread out. I mean, every team seems to have a dude. Austin, you mentioned SGA. He is one of those players. Seeing him play in person it's weird because he never is sped up.
Right.
Very weird pace. Like it's hard. It's like a rhythm that he plays with that's unique to him. He never rushes. He gets to every spot. Very savvy, a lot of underneath the rim moves. He's not a high flyer by any means, but uses his size and every inch of his ability to his advantage. So guys like that are very unique. Seeing a guy like Dame Lillard shoot it from the parking lot, Ja Morant jump out the gym, and guys like that. And so it's a very fun league. And then you got Jokic, who he doesn't dunk ever, but he doesn't miss anywhere in the paint. Seriously, he's probably shooting like I'm not no kidding. He's got to be shooting like 70% in the paint in the playoffs. He doesn't miss anything. He got shooting runners, one-legged shots, things like that. So the league is just different now. I'm excited for where it's going as far as the talent and things like that. And I think that even with the play-in tournament. If that doesn't happen, you don't get Jimmy Butler and them, in the finals making this run. So maybe the NBA looks at that and says, hey, that was a good idea for us to stick with that and kind of up the ante, with some, they've talked about in-season tournaments and, purses for that, money for that, things like that. So if you could just make it more competitive during the regular season, then it's really a win-win. So, I'm excited for the future of the league for sure. And like I said, I'm excited for the future of the league I'm covering too, because it's a lot of new blood coming in. And it seems like that old guard is, fizzling out slowly but surely, where we're seeing more, mobile quarterbacks, quarterbacks that can do more as far as, creating havoc on defenses and things like that. So probably not going to see too many more Peyton Manning, Tom Brady types. I mean, even guys like Joe Burrow can run. So I'm excited to see what a guy like Anthony Richardson can do if he puts it all together. I think the gap might be a bit understated. I think it's huge.
Yeah.
The guy to jump from 13, starts in college to go to an NFL offense and play well is going to be a huge, huge jump and learning curve for them. And so I don't want to get the hype around him. He's a very talented young man, great young man as far as his character, everything that I can tell. But I do expect it to be more difficult than not, and maybe not as easy as some fans think it is to just throw him in there week one and hand him the keys. Like, you've got to really be, to me, you don't have to be better than Gardner Minshew by week one, but the gap has to be, I guess small enough where you're not just sabotaging your team by throwing him out there and sabotaging his development by throwing him out there if he's just not ready. I think that Gardner Minshew is their best quarterback right now. It could be the case throughout the offseason. It's just how close can he get to Gardner? Because I don't think he'll be better than him, just experience-wise, play-wise, knowing the playbook and things like that before the season starts.
True. Now, do you feel like even with where things are, like, that Anthony Richardson is not going to come out and just be like the best pure passer, but do you feel like even with that being said, that they'll probably end up just like custom tailoring an offense that doesn't require him to necessarily be this outstanding quarterback that has to just go and just make all these superb throws? Or, what do you think is the approach to kind of tailor making that offense?
I think you have to look at 2021, Shane Steichen and Jalen Hurts. Everyone looks at 2022 when Jalen Hurts took off and became the superstar that he is, top 5 quarterback. But 2 years ago, people were really questioning if this guy was a starter in the NFL. It wasn't a good pick for them to draft him where they did. And so I think that season is more of what you could expect this season for Anthony Richardson to look like, as far as being a run-heavy offense, scheming a lot of things to make the simple throws, the rhythm throws, things like that, to put him in position to build some confidence, but not too much on his plate to the point where you're relying on him to win you games. I think the best thing you could do at this point is hope that, he gets it up here, and then physically and some of those things kind of come along throughout the season, but you're not, again, asking him to drop back and throw it 35 times and you to win. You want to stay somewhere probably in that 20, 25 range where you're handing the ball off a lot to Jonathan Taylor. You're doing some misdirection stuff with AR. That way you're able to run the ball, still put up some points and win games. Because, it worked for Philly that first year when Jalen Hurts was the first, that first year was a full-time starter, and they were able to get into the playoffs because they were able to run the ball and have success that way. So we'll see. I think AR's ceiling is higher, than most players. But I think his floor is pretty high as well because he can run. And because of that dynamic, it forces defense to at least account for it. You can't just, play a cover 2 and then, have 2 guys drop back deep and nobody over the middle, and he just runs straight past you for 20 yards every time. So,
exactly.
We'll see how it all shakes out. But I just think that, again, it comes down to how much the playbook he can grasp of it, and then also physically just the mechanics of his throwing and things like that. Like, his throwing motion is smooth. It's just the second half of his body. Can he get all that together and, have it all click to the point where he can be more accurate, things like that? Because what I've seen in camp and things like that, when he does miss, he usually tends to miss high. And there are some errant throws, but obviously, as you all can imagine, there are some, okay, that was a crazy throw, where you're like, this is why they drafted him as high as they did.
Yeah. And I think that's what we've seen. Like, I think the few passes that we've seen, we saw like the pass to Josh Downs in the very beginning. And then you see that they had the one where he was throwing into the accuracy net just to see, and then it's just like, and then he had the miss on there. So you've seen those types of things, but I don't know. It's just for me, it's too early to tell. I think he's still getting things together. So we're gonna go over a couple comments, and then Josh and Austin are gonna jump in because they had some questions for you too. We have Morocco, who's actually from one of our siblings, smaller sibling. I'm gonna say more like a baby brother. From the Titans Coliseum podcast. It says, I just said I'm going to watch the whole show without trash talking the Colts. Don't give me a reason. So with that being said, I actually have a question for you after we finish these comments. This guy says FTC, Federal Trade Commission. With that. And then Wiley says Minshew Mania. He's also a Jags fan, so he misses him. Not too much. And then Matt Briggs says Brown to the Rockets. So he means Jaylen Brown. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you that the Colts did not get Will Levis?
Oh, I can't answer that. Honestly, it's not even. No, I mean it's for real though. Like, I don't like. I mean, fans can kind of get into those type of questions, but I don't never disrespect anybody like that. If they would have drafted him, I would have covered him all the same. And
Absolutely.
Again, there's a lot of people who were killing this dude, but the truth is we don't know if any of these guys are going to pan out. And I think that Will Levis actually ended up in a really good situation where he not pressured to come in and be the guy right away. Yeah. Unlike a CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, he can kind of feel it out more. I think what might have led to him dropping was that he just didn't have the pocket awareness. That was the biggest thing. I think what AR was kind of underrated about him, even though his numbers aren't that great from college, he has pretty good to great pocket presence. Like you can't teach the stuff that he was doing in the pocket. And I think that Levis, even though he's tough, you wonder if that can be taught, like, if he can be taught to feel the pressure a little bit sooner. But, I would have had no issue as far as covering each guy. And even, I'm not making the decision, but owner Jim Irsay said that would have been the guy had Anthony Richardson not been picked. So not happy, not sad. It's just what the job is. And I think that, it'll be fun to see him, in the division for years to come, along with CJ Stroud and even this season, Bryce Young in week 9. So I'll get a chance to see potentially all of the top quarterbacks right away and have my evaluation from that. But even then, like the truth is we probably won't know who's really for real or who's not until, 2025 or something like that, because
year 2, year 3.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of hot takes after that week 9 matchup with Bryce and, AR. And then obviously I believe week 2 with Houston and things like that. But patience, my friends, patience.
Yeah. So we had this thing. So in the AFC South fan battle group that we have, which is like Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. Titans fans, when it was coming out that we had the 4th overall pick, Titans fans were just automatically like, because they saw Will Levis with the mayonnaise and the coffee and the eating the banana with the peel on it. They're just like, this guy might just be a sociopath, and the Colts are going to pick him at 4. And so we were like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Ideally we want Stroud, or we want Richardson, or at least that was like personal opinion. So we were getting trolled for months that, Colts were going to get Will Levis. And so Titans fans, now that they have Will Levis, they went from, oh yeah, no, he's going to be awful, to, oh no, he's going to be legit. He's going to be legit. Now it's just like, don't do that whole, he's going to be legit because he's on your team. It's just like, don't do that. So that's what we've had in terms of the banter back and forth for the last few months. And then, of course, after the draft as well. So,
yeah, I mean, I think it's good to have that trash talk. That's sports, right? You want to be able to talk your stuff. And like I said, I'm with all of that when it comes to I'm playing pickup basketball and things like that. I mean, you don't have to talk, but if you are going to talk, go ahead and do it. But again, I think it just depends on the situation you end up in. I think that all 3 of, the guys in the AFC South ended up being in pretty good positions. I think CJ Stroud was a great pickup for Houston.
Yeah.
I never believed that they were going to pass on the quarterback. That was a ridiculous smokescreen and a failed one at that. I don't think anybody was believing that at all.
There was no way.
And then I know the national media was really pushing Will Levis towards Indy, but the local media, us at The Athletic, we all were pretty set on Anthony Richardson, and we weren't shocked at all when the pick was made. It was just after that, basically just getting him on a Zoom call and kind of soaking in what it means, because he is one of the most unique prospects in recent memory of the NFL draft, and maybe just in the history of it overall, because Ed Dodds, the assistant general manager for the Colts, he said it himself. He was like, he's a blue chip player without the resume to back it up, like the traits and all that he has, but he hasn't played, he hasn't produced. And unlike Manning and Luck, who were, arguably the best player in college football their senior years, first team All-Americans, I won't say senior years, but their final years in college.
Yeah.
AR was not a great college player. He was not, all SEC. He just wasn't. And so you're betting on what he could be. And what he could be is amazing. But what he couldn't be is also kind of like, okay, so we're going to be here to document all of it, because there's going to be a lot riding on this pick, and it could change your future, and it will change your future for better or worse. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And so, like, I'll leave the floor to Josh and Austin before we get into schedule predictions. Great stuff so far. Do appreciate like what you have to say, even though you're being terribly neutral when it came to the Will Levis thing. But I'm completely okay with that, because we'll say enough for you.
All right, James. I got a question for you. What's the deal with Josh Downs' knee? I know. I think I watched the press, and Shane he really didn't have much to say on that.
Yeah, he didn't have much to say. He doesn't have much to say most of the time, but I think it's minor. He said it was minor, nothing to be too concerned about. It's football, you get banged up. So I wouldn't be too concerned about it. I think, with all guys, if you get to, the final week of the preseason and you're like, okay, some guy's out, then you might get worried. But it's early, it's precautionary. You want to protect the guy from himself. I'm sure he wants to be out there and probably could have been out there, but why risk it now in May when you want to make sure he's good, obviously come August, September.
Absolutely. Austin?
Yeah, so I just want to know if you have seen much of Isaiah Rodgers Sr. How does he look this offseason? And, why should Colts fans feel okay with him seemingly to have a bigger role this year?
You know what, to be honest, when we were at camp, so much of it is watching Anthony Richardson that you don't really watch anybody else. I picked up on a couple other guys, but I do think that they're really high on him. I know I talked to Ron Miles, the defensive backs coach, and he was saying, with Isaiah Rodgers' ball skills and experience going into this season, he should be fit for a bigger role. My question, and what I really want to see, and I probably won't be able to see it until training camp, is what they do as far as the reps at cornerback and who's where, because assuming Kenny Moore is your starting slot corner, do you play Isaiah on the outside? Is he big enough to play on the outside? Do you trust that enough? And so I like his confidence. He's always been sort of a ball hawk. He's got really good ball skills, speed, things like that. And he's also just a loose guy as far as personality. He doesn't get too high, get too low, pretty upbeat. And so I want to see him, what he can do in a veteran leadership role. So to be honest, I haven't seen him much in camp, at things like that, because I just haven't watched them. Hey, the bottom line is they got a new quarterback in town, so you got to worry about him first. Yeah. However, I do, hear you, Austin, when you kind of voice some of those concerns, because to me, that unit is going to go through some rough patches for sure, because they're so young and inexperienced. Even with Kenny and Isaiah, even if those two guys start, you're still going to probably bank on Juju Brents, being a starter as a rookie, Darius Rush being somebody who gets snaps as a rookie, Dallas Flowers, haven't even mentioned him going to his second year. They're extremely young, and, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that you did not get better in your defensive back room if you traded away Stephon Gilmore, who was responsible for 3 of the 4 wins last year. And someone I really enjoyed talking to. Gilly was he was cerebral, man. You talk about, asking somebody a question, you had to be on your A game, because if you ask a weak question, he ain't really about to rock with the answer. But if you ask him something that piques his interest or shows that you actually care about your craft, or you care about the way that he does things and how he goes about his business, he will give some fascinating insight. And then you realize, not only with him, Austin, but everybody, they really have PhDs in football, because I think I asked Gilly one time about lining up all over the field and how you have to train your body to, line up the opposite way. If you're, line up on the left side or the right side, and how quickly he had to learn, or how much did it become like innate for him, before he had to think about what he was doing. He was like, I'm doing this so long that it is, innate, but it took me some time, and it's hard for guys to do that, which is why guys don't travel as far as following the best receiver and things like that. So we'll see, but DB, Isaiah Rodgers, he's going to be in for a huge workload. And it could be huge for him in general because he's going into the final year of his contract. And whether he's putting it on tape for the coach or somebody else, he wants to prove that he could be a starting caliber cornerback in the NFL.
Yeah. Now, and then moving on to the business aspect, which I'm glad that you spoke about with Gilmore a little bit. How soon do you think the contracts will get done with Pittman and JT?
I think JT is just a matter of time because he is homegrown. When healthy, he is still arguably the best running back in the league. And he's not going to be able to break the bank because of his position and because of last season. I think last season actually might have helped the Colts in their negotiation because he didn't have another dominant year. They can point to this and say, hey, you were kind of dinged up. You were kind of nicked up, had some fumble issues, things like that. Had some block issues too. I do want to see JT get better at pass protection this season.
Yeah.
And so those things might stop him from getting some huge, crazy contract. So I think if you can get him at 3 years, 45 million, 42, something like that, that's probably a good sweet spot for both sides. He gets his money, and you get your running back that you can pair with Anthony Richardson. And I think that he's not going anywhere, period. I think that, again, having the other guy next to Anthony Richardson being Jonathan Taylor, that takes so much pressure off of him and allows you to do so many things with your offense because I've said this multiple times now, but it's going to be times throughout the season that you might have the two best athletes on the field in your backfield. And so that changes, what you're able to do. So I wouldn't be holding my breath about signing him to an extension. That'll happen, I believe, over the summer. Very confident in that. Pittman's a little bit different. I don't know because he's a wide receiver. It's a premium position, but he hasn't put up like number one numbers in production. Part of that is also he hasn't had a consistent quarterback since he's been in the league.
Yeah.
And part of that might be the limitations of his own game. You talk about number ones, you think of Devontae Adams, you think of, obviously Jamar Chase, you think of Jetta's over there in Minnesota, but even some of the guys who aren't like elite, they're still really good. You think of a guy like Terry McLaurin, he's a number one. Yeah. You ask, and I remember this was asked to Chris Ballard at the end of the season. Right after the season ended, he was asked point blank, is Pittman a number one? And he was like, what's a number one? I'm like, well, what's your answer? He's not. Yeah. They ask the question, who has Jamar Chase, who has the other guys, they're going to say, yeah, he's the one. Are you crazy? Stephon Diggs, he's the one. Devontae, right. He's got two of them, as far as I'm concerned, with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So, his value is going to be very hard to gauge, and then it also depends on how much he weighs, betting on himself, because he could be like, hey, I'm not re-signing. I'm going to hit free agency and test the waters, versus securing some money in a league that's brutal. I mean, you could also, come out here and bet on yourself and then get hurt, and then what? So he's one where I feel like it's a toss-up because he's also at a stage in his career where he might want to go somewhere where it is more established at quarterback and he can get, a chance to play meaningful games and also be paired with somebody as far as a quarterback who's already established. So we'll see, because I think that it's going to be very interesting to see. And I think that that's going to be something that's more tricky than JT.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you for that. So, like I said, I know we talked pre-production about you hanging around, sticking around, and this is a good portion because last year, I mean, we're going to be completely honest, we were terribly unrealistic with our predictions for the schedule. So, I think
everybody was, right? I think I had them at 10-7, maybe. So, and honestly, they probably could have won 8 games last year had they just finished some of them out. So, NFL is weird, man. Like, we'll see how it goes this season, but it's harder to predict success, I think, in this league than others because, I mean, it's really hard to be a sustained success in the NFL. You see Super Bowl teams not even make the playoffs the next year often. So, we'll see how it goes.
last year.
Sure. Peyton Manning spoiled y'all, man. He could pencil him in for 11 wins every year, man.
You're right. You're right about that.
It was the fact that you get not only one, but you get two franchise QBs back to back. That's what's honestly probably led our fan base to absolute pandemonium for like the last few years, because we spent a good 20 years being spoiled, if we're being honest. It's just like
now you gotta go live life like the rest of the NFL. You gotta he might not be the guy just yet. I'll be shocked if he came out and and won 11 games like Andrew Luck did his first season. And even then, like I was looking at Gardner Minshew's stats, he got in his rookie year because Nick Foles got hurt. Started, I believe, 12 games, went 6-6. He threw 21 touchdowns against 6 interceptions as a rookie. Yeah, like, that's crazy. That is crazy. Like I think that if that happened for Anthony Richardson, all of y'all and the rest of Coastland will be losing their minds. Like this dude is the man. So again, it's very rare to come in and have that sort of success. And to me, the number one thing is, can you get the rookie season healthy, see some development, as far as your mechanics, your decision making, things like that. If you do that, successful season. But wins and losses, I don't know, man. We're gonna see, because they have a weak schedule, but again, I'm just how much is going to be relied on as far as the quarterback. And again, if that position is not, stable, or at least not, I won't say stable because you're going to pick a guy, but you know what I mean? Like if it's not a guy who's capable of just balling out every week, it's going to be interesting to see what wins they pull out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm of the same mindset, because it's going to be, honestly, it's just going to be down to how this team is going to be able to respond week after week against whoever we're playing against, with whoever is the quarterback at that particular time. But getting into the first 2 games of the season, we're home versus Jacksonville, thank God. And then the next week, we're at Houston. After those 2 games, what's the record going to be?
1-1, lose against Jacksonville, beat Houston. I think that Houston is, on paper, one of the worst teams in the league as far as their talent level, even with the additions that they made. And so I think the Colts on paper actually have some pretty good talent. Like you still got guys on your team that can play. Like you got Pitt, you got JT. Defensively, you got Buck and Grove, you got Zaire. You got guys that can actually play. And so to me, if Shane Steichen is coming in, implementing his system and really commanding these guys, there are certain games or certain opponents you shouldn't be winless against, throughout the entire season like last year. Like you can't go winless against, in my opinion, Houston. You probably can't go winless against the Titans because they're, declining even more so than last year. So again, these are situations where I'm like, I look at week 2, especially after how last year went, when you went down there and you lost or you tied because they missed a field goal, you didn't play well, and I believe Matt Ryan had like 4 fumbles in that game, things like that. Anybody still on this team who experienced that game should go down there and feel like we're going to beat them. They're not that good. We're better than them. And even if, that's one of 5, 6, 7 wins, it's something you can be proud of because you're a better team than them. You should beat them, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know.
Do we know when Darius coming back? Possibly?
No, we do not. We do not. No timeline on him. I think I will really start to, dig and maybe get a little wide-eyed when it comes to training camp. Because to me, it's like if he's fine by training camp, if he's out there doing stuff by training camp, and then I can see how he moves, obviously I'll assess it then. But if he's not doing anything, because last time we talked to him, he was saying he hadn't done much running still. If he comes out and they say, oh, he's not ready yet for training camp, then I think you can, kind of, sound the alarm and wonder if this guy's ever going to be back to being himself or even just part of himself. Because at this point, we just don't know. And it's very concerning. And I'm hoping for his sake. They say you don't root for players, but I definitely root for health. Like, I don't ever want anybody on any team to be hurt. And you see how much the game means to Shaq. And for all the fans out there, that might be saying mean things to him, that dude cares a lot. And he puts his body through a lot. And I don't think anybody can doubt that. I think being in the locker room kind of helps you see that more. Even the guys who are healthy after every game, you see somebody taking a wrap off their shoulder, something off their rib cage. They might have broke a finger. They might be bleeding from somewhere. Like, these guys put their body on the lines every week to do what they love. And when they can't do that, they still love it. Like he didn't just take the money and quit on the team. Like, nah, he really is hurt. Like if he can't play, like it might be other guys you can question. That dude loves football. So trust me when I tell you, like if he could be out there, he would be. And I'm hoping, obviously that he is out there sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know where his head is at just because of like how open he's been about talking about like mental health and everything else that goes along with it. Because, like I think the one thing that's very, very understated is not just the physical aspect of it, but then also the mental aspect of it. Because, I mean, yeah, you literally are, sacrificing yourself every single week. And then, it's just like you have to deal with people potentially coming at you, hearing it when you're out in the street, hearing it on social media, somebody telling you how much you didn't sacrifice yourself when you know exactly what you put yourself through just to get yourself into that spot to just be able to play. So yeah, if there's one person whose dedication I would never ever question, it's absolutely Leonard. Absolutely.
I'm telling you, that dude cares for real.
Yes.
For real. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So James, you have 1-1 coming out of week 1 and 2. Austin, Josh, where are you guys at with the schedule for those two? I'm just going to do those in like pairs.
I'm going to say 2-0. I think we break our week 1 losing streak this year.
I haven't won one since 2013, right? So
yeah,
it's been a while.
Yeah, and like even like as a writer, this is the annoying part because you got to be factually correct. It's not a losing streak. It's a winless streak, like Austin just said. Like because they tied last year. It's so weird. Like they didn't lose last year, but they didn't win. So they haven't had a win since 2013, but they also haven't lost since like last year, which is crazy. It's so weird. That one, oh my god, that was my first NFL game I ever covered.
That's a strange way to start your NFL career.
Man, I should have known then, right? That was a crazy ride for sure.
I saw the picture of Zach Kiefer shaking your hand right before he introduced you, and it almost seemed like he said, "You know what? Good luck."
Yeah.
It's strange at times.
That's my guy, though, man. He's one of the best in the biz for sure.
Absolutely. We definitely appreciate him as well. What about you, Josh?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Austin, man. First of all, I'm tired of losing to Jacksonville. Although they haven't really beat us at home a whole lot since 2017, they haven't beat us at home. I just get tired of facing Jacksonville. They're always a tough team, even at home. And then we got to go to Houston, and after what they did to us in Houston, we got to get back, and what they did in Indy. So yeah, I go 2-0 as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with James on this one. I think it's 1-1, but I think we end up winning against Jacksonville and then losing against Houston.
Oh, you just rooting for pain.
But you know what? The craziest part about it is if you win week 1 versus Jacksonville, you will hear a celebration like no other because you finally win a game in week 1, and then you also end up beating Jacksonville early. So you're starting off with 1-0, which we haven't done in, I'm going to say how many years? I think, about 7-8 years now?
Yeah, it was since 2013. I mean, I was a junior in high school. So it's been a little while since I had homework. So that's crazy. We're going to see, though. And I just feel like Jacksonville's their division now. We saw them take that leap. And I think that it wasn't a fluke. And then when you add Calvin Ridley to the mix, it's like, the rich get richer, and I think that Trevor Lawrence is top dog in the division right now. That could change, but that dude looked pretty good, pretty special in the postseason. Even with 4 turnovers and all of that, when they played the Chargers, he gave him a chance, obviously, to come back and win that game, and then he gave him a chance to get the Chiefs too. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think the one thing we are, I'm going to say, neglecting when it comes to Jacksonville is that they can't be consistently good. Like they have those times where it's just like if they have a good year, then they're going to take a few years off until they're good again.
I think the difference is they got a franchise quarterback now. They got a dude over there. Like Trevor Lawrence look for real. So
I mean, I get it. I understand. I don't know.
I'm just letting you know, like people were a lot higher on him when he was coming out than any quarterback in this class and things like that. And
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When he got a competent coach and and staff around him. So obviously it could change, but it feels like they're the best team, and obviously they got the most coming back as far as talent and things like that. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited about it, and I think that if anything, you had a dramatic win over them last year with the Alec Pierce, game winner.
Yeah.
But when you go down to Jacksonville, you just can't get shut out. Like that was one of the worst games I've ever seen.
That was awful. That was
crazy.
Yeah, that was awful.
And so,
embarrassing.
Yeah, that was definitely something to experience. But I think that's where I look at. You talk about wins. There's certain games or certain matchups, even if you don't win, like you got to just show up for it and at least put some pressure on the other team to make some plays.
Fantastic. So moving on to the next two games, we have Week 3 at Baltimore and Week 4 home versus the Los Angeles Rams.
I think both of them are going to be losses.
Oh,
yeah, I think Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, the upgrades they made over there. Don't have to get too deep into it, but he got the bag and he got some people to come along with him, and so I think they're going to be really difficult to deal with. I also think that it's going to probably be, at least if you're looking at it like at the highest upside, it's like you're looking at the future. Okay, this is what we might have with our quarterback if it all clicks. They're different players as far as, because like Lamar's more wiggly and he's not as thick, but there is a lot of similarities as far as the dual threat capabilities, the big arms, things like that. Yeah. And then for the Rams, it's just they still got Aaron Donald over there willing to wreak some havoc. And so I think that's going to be a game to determine where your offensive line is at and things like that. And Sean McVay is still a Super Bowl winning coach. And so I expect him to make it difficult. Assuming Anthony Richardson is in, just for the sake of this argument, if he's in, he's going to make it difficult on him to read the defense and things like that. So these are growing pains that I think that he's going to have to go through. And it might not sound very optimistic, but as I always tell people, anybody listening, even Colts players, they listen and hear me. Prove me wrong. It's always trying to write the story and that says I was wrong about everything. I mean, I could take it, but I just think that there's going to be a lot of growing pains early on. Especially if Richardson is in there.
Gotcha. Okay. What about you guys? Where are you at, Austin?
I got 1-1 after this one, losing to Baltimore. I think Baltimore's a really good team if they all are healthy. And I don't think the Rams are that good. I know Aaron Donald's great and Sean McVay is a great coach, but I just don't think they're as good as they were when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we all can see that. No, you make a good point. You make a very good point.
Okay. And then what about you, Josh?
Man, that's difficult. I want to say 2-0, but I'll be a homer. But I mean, the Ravens have been beatable. Every game we played with them the last 3 times, they've been beatable, been winnable. So I mean, they can be beat. It's just that we got to keep, like we had with Wentz, we had a lead, I think a 19-point lead, and we gave it up in the fourth quarter. And then in the Indy, we had a game they could have won. I think JT fumbled that game. So they can be beat. I know they're a good team. Like you said, Lamar got the bag, and they got players with them in the OBJ. And they still well coached. Man, I want to say, man, I say we win that game. I don't know about the Rams because I don't know if Stafford's gonna play. Is he healthy? Is he progressing to come back?
Yeah, no, he's supposed to be able to make every throw and be available for every game and things like that.
Oh man, in this case, then I go 0-2.
Okay. I'm going 1-1 again. I think we probably lose to Baltimore. I'm going to say the Rams to me is a winnable game. If we're being completely honest, it's just like even playing them the last time, I don't think that they've actually gotten better since the last time we played them. I mean, they did ship off Ramsey. So, I mean, I think now
everybody, Wagner.
Yeah, you have teams that are probably going to be looking to target that defense more. Once again, Sean McVay actually is like he's a Super Bowl winning coach. But the thing is, I don't think that it's going to be as easy to cover up losing, the impact that you have with somebody like a Jalen Ramsey so easily. So I think it's just like with the Rams, that's a winnable game. All right. And then the next one we have Tennessee Titans at home, and then the dreaded away game at Jacksonville. James.
Oh.
1-1. I think you knock off the Titans, lose to Jacksonville.
Okay.
I think that Jacksonville's the best team in the division. I think they're probably going to be the division champs with, automatic home playoff game. With the Titans, you just see the writing on the wall for them. Their style of play, the way their franchise was built the last few years, it's kind of run its course. And, it's like how much can you put on the shoulders of Derrick Henry? I get it. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
So I'm walking into the stadium. We were down there in Tennessee, and I was like, yeah, some of y'all just God's favorite because how the heck are you that big? For real. But even him, with the position he plays, you're seeing a little bit now, injuries here and there, a little bit of a decline. Not saying he's still one of the best running backs in the league, but I just don't think you can just continue to ride him, every single game and think that you're going to be able to just bully them, bully the Colts, that is, into a loss. So that's one that I know Jim Irsay wants bad, both matchups with them, because the Titans, if you look at what they've done the last few years, they haven't really even played that well against the Colts. They really just bullied them. Just outmanned them, and just out-toughed them. And so that's something where you want to see how does Shane Steichen's imprint show up for the team and things like that, because when I was last year in Tennessee, there was, like, in my mind, there wasn't a game where they were just overmatched. It was just they were just out-toughed, period.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. All right. What about you, Austin?
So as much as I want to say we're going to sweep the Jags, I'm going to give them that game. But I do think we'll beat the Titans at home. So I say 1-1 again.
Okay. How about it, Josh? I don't like that look. Josh. What you got going on?
I got to come up with the heat, man. We are not losing both those games. We are not losing at home to Tennessee, and we are not losing to Jacksonville again. It has to end. It has to end in Jacksonville. This is the year. The home kid coming back to Jacksonville or Florida, and he got to get that win. He got to help us get that win. I'm not putting pressure on him, but it's time to win in Jacksonville.
There's pressure on that dude. You ain't got to worry about putting pressure. He drafted him, called him superhero multiple times. So I mean, if anybody put pressure on
he did do that. Yeah, I gotta go 2-0.
I'm going 1-1. I think this year, this is the year we shut Titans fans up, but this is not the year where we break the streak at Jacksonville. So yeah, we're gonna go 1-1. So Tennessee's a dub, and then Jacksonville's an L for us. And finally, for week 7, week 8, we have home against Cleveland and then home against New Orleans. Now, I'm going to say these matchups are going to be interesting. One is just going to be because now you're going to get a full year of Deshaun Watson. Now, based on what you've seen, James, like where can you possibly see this team in terms of like their ceiling and floor with how that team is shaped up, and what Deshaun Watson do you think we're going to get?
I have no idea, to be honest with you, because everyone knows his situation, the things that he allegedly did, the misconduct that he had, off the field with multiple women, all those things, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how to gauge a comeback from that. I don't even want to call it that, because it feels like this is a situation that didn't just happen to you. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's not an injury. And so that's part of it, And then I do think that obviously being around the team more throughout the entire offseason, being able to practice throughout the season will help. But they don't have much talent over there, as far as the wide receiver room. And so that's my biggest thing is like, you can be as great as you want to be as a quarterback, but you don't have the talent or the playmakers to throw it to. It doesn't matter. So I would actually expect the Colts to potentially pick up win here, and give them some go and then lose to the Saints because I think the Saints, their defense, Derek Carr being over there gives them a little more juice on offense, makes it difficult. But Cleveland doesn't really scare me, as someone who's looking from the outside in. Obviously, it could be different if you're on the ground and you really locked in with them every single day. But I just don't see how, you take a massive leap from last year to this year if you're Cleveland, given that you just haven't really, in my opinion, added a lot of talent to help you make that turn. And so you put a lot on Deshaun Watson. Obviously, he's earned that pressure with the $230 million guaranteed contract, which, he gets a pass for last year because he, missed time or whatever. People were like, okay, you're just rusty. But if you come back this year, you're not the quarterback that you were, in Houston. It's going to be looking like the worst contract, in the league if he can't, produce, at a Pro Bowl level. Because that's what it is. And I mean, you pay a guy like that, you expect him to elevate your team and to be a Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber player. And if he isn't that, then I don't think it's going to go well in Cleveland. And I don't know if it will be that because, again, it's not guaranteed for him to have success if he's not up to par and then the teammates around him aren't, guys that are headliners.
Yeah. No, absolutely. All right, so you have win for Cleveland and then loss against the Saints. Then, Josh, what do you have?
Yeah, I agree. 1-1. We can beat the Browns and most likely lose to the Saints. Derek Carr has been a problem for us. Every time we played him, it's been a close game. It's been some type of clutch play that they beat us in that gets them over the hump to get the win. I just don't see us beating the Saints, and they already have a good defense. And pairing him with Michael Thomas, and Chris Olave, that's pretty dangerous.
Okay. What about you, Austin?
I also have 1-1. I agree. The Browns don't have many weapons. If you can stop Nick Chubb, I think you'll be fine, or at least contain him a little bit. You can't really stop him. He's a good running back. So I think we'll beat the Browns, and then the Saints. Like you said, Josh, Derek Carr has been he beats us when he plays us. I don't know why. And also depending on the Kamara situation, like if he's out, that could be a different game. But I think we'll lose that one.
I'm going against the grain here. I'm going to go 2-0. I'm going to go 2-0.
He can help himself.
I'm going to go 2-0. And the only reason why I believe this is I 100% agree when it comes to Cleveland. I'm not of the mindset that Derek Carr will just be able to just be plug and play when it comes to the Saints offense. It's like, I'm not going to count out the defense by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I'm not saying we'll go into that game thinking that it's going to be like a 50-3 blowout. But at the same time, it's like, you don't know what you're going to get from Michael Thomas because we don't know whether or not he's going to come back 100% healthy. You have Chris Olave, you have Alvin Kamara, but as we've seen, it's just like Alvin Kamara. It's just like there's no telling what you're going to get from him. I mean, this is the same guy I think who's never ran for over 1,000 yards, but is still regarded as probably like one of the best running backs in the league. But also, he's a great catcher off the backfield. So I don't know. I don't know. But the thing is, for me, it's just that I think there's just too many question marks with that team right now with Derek Carr. I'm not saying that he's bad, but I'm just saying it's just like he can show that there's some inconsistency at times.
I mean, that's fair, but I just look at it like, man, they got question marks, but then the Colts got question marks too.
That's true.
Huge ones. And so it could go either way, and I think that's why I'm most excited just to get to the season. Now, I don't want to rush my summer. Need some time a little bit, NFL never sleeps, so it's like if anything, you get lucky, you get 2 weeks to kind of unwind a little bit. But I'm excited to just get to more live football, which will be coming in July with camp and things like that, just to at least have something to dissect. I mean, I'm getting criticism now because I'm not criticizing the team enough. And it's like, what can you criticize? Yeah. I mean, I've seen Anthony Richardson throw, 30, 40 passes live, and half of those were just drills. They weren't even like live reps, 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. So it's hard for me to, say stuff or have an opinion on such a small sample size. Yeah. I want to see it, when it matters. And obviously, as we get close to the season, best thing about sports is you got to put it on the field at some point. And so we'll see it and then be able to really give all of us, I think, fair assessments of what's going on, not only with the Colts, but the rest of the league.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's fair because, I mean, you don't want to be I for the life of me, can't remember his name, but he was one of the analysts during a preseason game. And he was just like, this whole team stinks. Everything stinks. It's just like the offense stinks, the defense stinks, special team stinks. And then, that's I think the last year that Andrew Luck played where they ended up going 10-6. And it's just like, okay, well, that was just a knee-jerk reaction. And now you just kind of like look a little crazy. So I get what you're saying. Like, it's just like it's not necessarily about that. I think these are the times that we know. It's just like we talk about on the podcast all the time. This is the times where it's just like you're looking for every little thing to be able to talk about, when in reality, it's just like everybody's literally just getting their footing, getting their bearings.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it goes for the coaches, the rookies, the veterans, getting integrated with both of them. So again, I'm excited to see how it all unfolds and what it means for each person. Shane Steichen has a lot riding on this because he's a rookie head coach. Yes, he stays as the play caller throughout the season. We've seen a lot of coaches kind of pass that off because they're in over their head a little bit and they get overwhelmed because they're trying to, run the team and also call the plays. That can be difficult to do. Does he stick with that, or does Jim Bob Cooter take over those, responsibilities? And you look at the quarterback, obviously, how quickly can Anthony Richardson be ready, and how much do you want to put on his plate to start off? Then you look at management, Chris Ballard. This pick, Anthony Richardson probably saves your job for a couple more seasons. As long as it's not the complete like bust where it's just terrible. But at the same time, you got to see some progress. If you don't see any progress, you got to question what's going on with him and his thought process. So there's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts, a lot of angles to look at it from, and I guess a lot of writing ahead for me. So
yes,
that's the part.
Yeah, we look forward to it because we also had a chance to talk a little bit before you came on. I think we talked about your article about Gardner Minshew being an asset to the team, and then also the Anthony Richardson. Which, if you have the Athletic app on your phone, you can download it from the Apple Store. I'm pretty sure on the Google Play Store. Definitely download the Athletic, and then you can view them on there. I think that's pretty much what we have for you. I just want to let you know the results of everybody's mock record up till now. Inadvertently, Josh, Austin, and I all have the Colts starting off 5-3, and you have a starting off 3-5.
Sounds like to me. I had them at 5-12 on the season. I could see them getting up to maybe 7 wins, 8 wins. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's not really about wins and losses, which sounds so cliche, but it's actually true this year. I mean, you hear that every year. You want to get better every week. Every week is, you want to go 1-0, all that, Friday Night Lights. All the time. You get tired of hearing that, And honestly, as a reporter, you tend to tune that stuff out. Like I hear certain quotes, I'm like, I'm not using an ounce of this because this is all, nonsense. But it really is about what you see, the incremental progress you see every day. And again, to me, you want to see, number one, obviously progress from Anthony Richardson, keep him healthy, things like that. But you just can't get embarrassed like last year. You can't be up, a ton at Minnesota and lose like you did. You can't play a team like Dallas and be in the game and then get throttled in the fourth quarter. You just can't have those types of performances. As long as you don't have that, see some progress, I think overall it'll be a pretty good season. And I also want to just throw it out there. Might make some Colts fans upset. I don't think they're going to be bad enough to get a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., quite frankly.
Thank you. I'm glad you said that. I
mean, to me, it would not be a disaster of a season because I really think that dude could possibly be like a top 5, top 3 pick. Drake May, Caleb Williams, they'll probably go 1 and 2 with Caleb Williams at number 1. But it's hard for me to see him dropping past the 5th spot, and I just don't think that the Colts are going to be as bad as they were last year, considering just how much that happened with coaching changes, quarterback changes, things like that. Assuming they have more continuity throughout the season, I just and again, if you win 5-6 games, you're not getting the top 3, 4, 5 pick. So we'll see how it all goes down, but yeah, I just don't think that's going to happen. I know people want to dream of it to happen, and it would be cool. I think he's the best wide receiver in any class last year. He could have came out last year and been a top 10 pick, but
right.
It's just you can't have your cake and eat it too sometimes. And plus, you already got one Harrison Colts fans. You can't have every one of them. I mean, my goodness, you already had Manning and Luck, and now you want Harrison Jr. Y'all just want everything.
Hey,
and then
you know,
oh, yeah. Hey, Austin, funny. Man, look, I've heard that too. Like, y'all just tank and worry about getting him. It's like, don't work like that, man.
Like, sir, you'd have to be bad for a while in order to get Arch Manning, because he's going to be in for at least 3 years.
Right, so. They're trying to get me to cover some lean years, but I think
we would never wish that. We would never wish that on you.
I do have 2 questions for you.
Go ahead, man.
What is the culture like? Going from obviously Reich and then part time with Jeff Saturday and now with Shane.
You know what? It's hard to tell. I've gotten this question a lot. You don't know until you go through some adversity, right? Everything's great. The culture is great. During the offseason, it's great during training camp. Everybody's learning. Everybody's together. Everyone's got that oneness that you speak about. And then you get hit in the mouth and you realize some teams aren't built like that. And so I kind of want to, revisit that conversation maybe around week 8, week 9, where you're seeing some ups and downs, and then I can give you a better answer. I know it's a cop-out, but it's just true. Like everything sounds great during the summer. Every team has a great offseason. Like, you will never find a coach that said they had a bad offseason or a bad draft or bad OTAs. But the truth is, some of them did. And so we got to wait and see. Now, I don't think the Colts had a bad draft. I don't think they're having bad OTA or bad practices, but you just don't know what will translate come Sunday. And so when that happens, then I'll be able to give you a better assessment. But I will say this, though. There is a certain level of excitement with Shane Steichen. I think a certain level of toughness, too, because he seems like a very this is how it's got to be type of guy. Like he was saying when we were asking about Anthony Richardson, his development, he was like, no, I'm going to show him every day. This is what it's got to look like every day. And the standard is this. And if you drop below that, I'm going to tell you every single time there's going to be any shortcuts. I think there's going to be a certain level of protection around him, but not coddling when it comes to Anthony Richardson. So we'll see. But I like Shane Steichen, and he truly is all ball. I mean, that dude, he ain't going to give you more than what you asked for when it comes to answers and things like that. Right. But, even as fans, like you all, nobody cares if you win. So if you win, that solves everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've been reading the rumor mill of Reggie Wayne having some type of more say so. I guess an offense, or I don't know. This is like more so on offense with Shane.
You know what? I'm not sure. I'll say this. I don't read too many rumors and get into the rumor mill because I hear a lot of crazy things. But what I can say is that he was brought back for a reason. I think that Shane Steichen thought very highly of him to retain him on his staff when he overhauled the entire offensive staff. I believe Reggie is the only holdover on the offensive staff from last season. So that speaks a lot to how highly they thought of him. And then, what he means to the city, what he means to the franchise. And even him, like he joked a lot last season about how hard it was and, wanting to be on the beach and things like that. Reggie always talks about the beach. But I think that him personally, like he wanted to be back because he felt like he had some unfinished business. And, he actually vouched for Josh Downs to bring him in. Now he gets to work with him in a wide receiver room that has a lot of talent in it, given where they were last year. They're not the most talented wide receiver room, but they got some talent in there with Pittman, with Pierce, with Josh Downs, and even the tight ends and how they'll be worked in as well. Big year for Jelani Woods, potentially, because I think that of all the guys, there's a lot of guys I'm excited about. He's one that I really want to see and what Shane Steichen does with him because, we saw flashes of it, but, man, that is a big dude. He can run. If he locks in, he'll probably be a better blocker this year. And so we'll see how it goes. But time will tell, my friend. Time will tell.
Does Jelani Woods thing have anything to do with his basketball background?
I think that's overhyped all the time. Honestly, I think
Really?
that's playing football. I think you hear all the time, like, you know, hoopers and all that are good tight ends and good, you know, throw a ball to a guy, it's like catching a rebound. No, it's not. It is not like that. There's plenty of basketball players who will be terrible football players. I just think that he's a good football player. Honestly, I think that, you know, I could be wrong, but it's a little overstated to me. Just because, again, that's one of those things you hear over and over. Is like, oh, you know, it's basketball out there. No, it's not. It is not that. No. Like LeBron, as much as I respect him, he would not be a good tight end. That would break that man up.
Thank you.
Being 6'8" and all of that type of stuff. So
thank you.
Right.
What a tangent, but yeah, I do think that, jokes aside, Jelani is in for a big year because of the growth and the flashes we saw last year and how he could be moved around and utilized in Shane Steichen's offense. I mean, he has the stuff you can't teach as far as the size and the speed, and then it's just, you know, the mental part of it, and then also getting the playbook down and things like that.
Fantastic, and thank you for that LeBron comment, because I don't know how.
Oh no, like I mean, maybe it's just I cover sports, but I really have a lot of respect for the different leagues, like, and what they bring to the table. Like, you're not gonna just throw a football player out in the NBA and tell them to be good; they wouldn't last.
No.
And same thing with the NFL. Same thing with baseball. I mean, baseball is probably the hardest one, in my opinion, because even if you have an athletic basketball player, you can like just throw him out there and tell him, go hit this guy, go get that rebound. And baseball, if you have not practiced the actual, like, you know, art of swinging a bat or fielding a ground ball, you will be terrible no matter how great of an athlete you are. And so, you know, I don't give too much stock to that. I think that these guys are great football players because they put a lot of time into being great football players.
Yeah. All right.
Do we see before you go? Do we see a shuffle in the offense, like Braden coming in at guard and Freeland being right tackle, possibly?
I think it's too early to tell. I think that they're putting a lot on Tony Sperano Jr. They haven't made a lot of upgrades on the offensive line. They're trusting him to really get that thing going, and they might, you know, have the same five that they had last year. It just depends on if they're able to perform better. I will say this though. If they don't perform better, that's going to be an indictment on this team and what they didn't do over the offseason. Because to me, the draft was great, you know, as far as the pieces that they added. It was a really good draft to me. But if it comes back to bite you that you didn't get an offensive lineman earlier in the draft or do more besides getting Blake Freeland and, you know, Jake Witt and, you know, Emo Ekiyor, then you're going to look really, really foolish, because we all knew what this offensive line looked like last year at the end and how much they struggled. Now, they got a little bit better, but they gave up 60 sacks last year, second most in the NFL. You can't have that happen again. And if you run it back and it doesn't work out, you have no one to blame but yourself. And then you're going to really hinder Anthony Richardson's growth, because you can't put him back there if you can't protect him.
Exactly. I like it. I think this is probably like the most introspective that we've had thus far, so we definitely do appreciate this. And like I said, with that, we're actually going to be wrapping up here. So I know that we've had the @Romeoville Kid on all socials, but let us know, like I said, let the people know where else they can find you, what you have coming up. We definitely want them to get connected with you more.
Yeah, I would just say stay locked in to my Twitter, theathletic.com, you know, searching up Colts stuff. I got some stuff on my sleeve I can't talk too much about, but I'm excited about it just because I'm trying to, you know, as you all know, establish myself as the lead guy now. So I got to, I guess, bring the heat, and I'm excited about what's to come with the story ideas I have, the coverage ideas I have, things like that. And some of the short-term and long-term projects I got to work on. There's always something churning up here. I know I spend a lot of time on Twitter engaging and talking crazy and all of that, but I take the job serious. And so you can bet that I got some stories on the way that'll, you know, excite you about the season, but also hopefully just bring you close to the players that you love and respect. I think that that's my biggest thing, is much as I love talking about coverages and things like that, you know, schemes and how players will fit. The biggest thing to me is always making sure that you show that human side of them. Like I did with like Zaire, the feature I did on him, you know, where he was able to, you know, express how he came up and the things that it took for him to get to the league. And so everybody's got a story, and it's my job to tell it.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that is understated that I'll vouch for, and that is the fact that you absolutely do. You know, there's people out there, you know, in terms of media people that, you know, they have the Twitter, they'll put a comment, they'll have a bunch of people engage, not necessarily get too much into it, but I've seen you, it's just like you engage regularly. And I think that's one thing that I do appreciate because, for me personally, as a fan, being able to connect with those people who are giving you that insight and giving you that is super big. So definitely do appreciate you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all, man. I mean, I think the job is not the job without people, subscribing to the work, paying for the work, reading the work. And so if I don't engage with, you, Josh, Austin, other fans and people who have even, different platforms that they cover the team on, I mean, what am I in it for if I'm in it just for myself? So it's a privilege. It's an honor. It's something that I truly, when I walk into the facility almost every day, it's like, man, dude, this is what you dreamed of, and how people get to live their dream every day. And so,
yeah,
I don't take that for granted, man. A lot of sacrifices along the way, family sacrifices, things like that. So when I get to, cover a game, book flights. I just booked all my flights, I believe, a couple of days ago for the season, and seeing, you get a chance to go to Germany. I'm like, I ain't never would have went this far in my life without having those opportunities matter. And then obviously reminding people that it's possible. I mean, I ain't really grew up in a newspaper household. I didn't come from, the richest background. I, grew up nice life, things like that. But it wasn't like I intended on this being my path. It kind of was just like, this is what I want to do. My parents told me to dream big, and I chased it. And so now it's like, how far can you really take it? And so people think now you get to a certain spot, oh, you made it. Nah, like I'm still, I feel like I'm like paranoid, where it's like, you don't want to be too complacent, too lazy. You want to keep enjoying it, but also keep pushing yourself to tell better stories and, and have experiences. And, I ain't never too proud to go somewhere and ask somebody to take a picture of me, next to something. They're like, man, you always taking pictures. I'm like, yeah, because I don't know if I'm going to be back here again. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity most of the time. You appreciate that, when you have to get out the mud a little bit. So excited for what's to come for sure.
Absolutely. That's great to hear. It's great to hear, especially, somebody just going ahead and just persevering in that way. We definitely do appreciate it. We actually just going to go ahead and get out of here. Did want to ask you some questions, but I know that you said you can't really say much, but you can't say much to the people. That doesn't mean that we're not still going to try. So in the meantime, guys, tell them where, or Austin and Josh, tell them where they can find you on social media before we get up out of here.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at CookieAustin2.
All right. And Josh?
You can find me on Twitter at Fisher Josh Senior.
All right. And then make sure that you follow the page at Horseshoe_mob. You can find me at CJ Colts Fan. Thank you for tuning in. We will be live again next week. We'll have the second half of the schedule, and we'll actually have another special guest. Matter of fact, James, we'll have Megan Hall next week.
That's my dog right there. Good people for sure.
Yes.
For sure. So, gonna make sure y'all right. That's a good get right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We had on the AFC South Fan Battle podcast the other day, and it was nothing short of I'm gonna say exciting, because a lot of talk on there. But like I said, people, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. The episode will be out first thing tomorrow, so you can listen on Apple Music, Spotify, anywhere where you listen to podcasts, we're on there. So in that case, we'll see you next week. And as always, Sam loves Jalen Ramsey. She's going to kill me for saying that, but you know what? She does. So either way, that's fine.